I have been an advocate for Xbox Game Pass and other similar services for a while now, and I think that's mainly because if you see something that intrigues you that you wouldn't normally play, but since it's a buffet style, you kind of dabble in it, you try it for the first time, and you unlock a portion of your preferences that you didn't even know that you liked before. And this is totally the experience I had playing this next game. We got Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc for the PSP. So, a little disclaimer, I credit the console of origin when reviewing games unless it's a full reboot or remake, but this is a port of a PSP game. I've done that with older games, but I don't think I've ever specified if it originally came out on a certain game console, but it's just ported to a newer one that is basically the same game. I give the OG credit. This has to be up there with one of the weirdest names of games I've ever played, but to be fair, it's a Japanese name, so I'll let it slide. What else is confusing is the type of game this is, because it's not really the kind of game I play. You know, I got racing games, first-person shooter, sports games, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but a text-based game? An adventure game about murder in a high school? With this game being mostly narrative driven, it also presents a challenge for me as a reviewer because I have to worry about spoilers, which I haven't had to do in other reviews, you know. Mario saves the princess, that knowledge does not ruin the game. You become the champion of every Pokemon game, that does not ruin a Pokemon game. But here, if I reveal certain information, that can definitely ruin the game, so I have to be wary of that. So, like I said before, the story takes place in a high school where ultimate students are gathered from every corner of Japan and are brought to the school in order to better themselves, but it turns out very fast that they find that they're all trapped and they cannot escape. A seemingly animatronic bear named Monokuma presents himself and tells the students that they're trapped and the only way to get out is to kill another student and to get away with it. And it's the job of the other students to gather evidence and put on a trial against everyone else to determine who did each murder. And while I say that the genre of death games like Squid Games and Hunger Games has become slightly tired over the past decade or so, you never really know who to invest your emotions with because they could wind up dead at any instant. But I feel like this concept works significantly better in a longer media form, like a video game that takes 20 hours to complete as opposed to a 2-hour movie or a series that lasts 8 hours. I feel like I was much more invested in the characters, and the fact that the characters who were all friends that were just starting to kill each other was just more fuel for the narrative fire. While the bar is low for narrative in a video game, in my experience, this is without a doubt the most engaging narrative or story I've played in a video game, which again, isn't in my usual list of things I look for in a video game, because I play Call of Duty and Pokemon for crying out loud, but the story absolutely carries this video game because the video game aspects are subpar in my opinion. So the class trial is where there's actually video game components to this game, and there was just too many confusing aspects of the game portions that I really didn't like playing that part of the game. It was only worth it because the plot would progress. There were several minigame types of games in the class trial that I just didn't like it. The one that grinds my gear the most is the truth bullet one, where you have to shoot a truth bullet at someone's phrase to counter-argue, which is a neat idea and it works in the beginning pretty well, but then they add all sorts of different mechanics like multiple bullets, deflecting distractions, and using other people's phrases to counter other people's phrases. At some points you need to wait for a sentence, let the debate end, and then use that sentence earlier in the debate in order to progress. That'd be like you, the viewer, bringing up something I said before I even said it. Like, it doesn't even make sense, and it really broke my immersion since everything else about the game is pretty black and white in terms of, like, courtroom logic. There was a couple other minor things here and there that bothered me too, like at the end of the trial you have to show the events of what happened in a comic book-esque style, and a lot of the panels looked really similar, so it took me a couple tries to get the whole story straight, because I didn't really know what the order was. I even had to look up a walkthrough at one point because it was taking me so long, but the walkthrough didn't help either because the descriptions of the panels just all sounded like the same thing. It was really frustrating, especially when you're presenting an important piece of the story like that. But overall, it's an excellent game. The story was engaging from start to finish, and I found it pretty fun and got my mind working for sure. It did seem like there was a ton more the game had to offer, but after the story, the main thing in my eyes, it just wasn't the same. Plus, Game Pass was pulling it from the catalog, so I was on a timer from day one. Well, I can't really place this game on the overall rankings because I don't think it can really overcome the game aspects of it, but it vastly exceeded my expectations of what I thought a game could do in terms of story. So I thought it was a truly phenomenal game, and I look forward to the second and third entry. I'm just realizing right now there could be games out there that I enjoy, but I don't I don't think that I'll enjoy them, so I haven't played them yet, so I haven't played it to enjoy it yet, so my mind hurts. Well, hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks for watching. Working on another review soon. See you then.